It's Football Friday. And what are we going to do this offseason on Football Fridays? Well, at least until the NFL draft, we're gonna do mock drafts every Friday. So this is Eagles mock draft 1.0 this Football Friday. Plus, we are going to recap yesterday's interview with Chris Franklin. He said some interesting things, and I'd love to get everybody's opinion on them as well. Sixers, Phillies, whatever else you want to talk about. Flyers lost last night. Trending in the AM. We are live talking all things you want to talk about in 30 seconds.
Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 woo!
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on the STT Sports Network. We are live, YouTube and Twitter. Wherever you're watching, like this video, share it out, and make sure you click that subscribe button on the YouTube page. If you're watching over on Twitter, please head on over to the STT Sports Network YouTube page and click subscribe. The race to 500 subscribers. We're starting today, Friday, the last day of February at 449. Will we cross the 450 mark today? I hope so. So like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching anywhere but on YouTube, head on over to that YouTube page and click subscribe. It's free to do. It costs you nothing to subscribe to the YouTube page, so I greatly appreciate it. I am Phil Stiefel, your host every morning. You can find me all over social media at Beard of Knowledge. And, we got lots that we want to do today. It's Football Friday. This is the part of the off season where, the Super Bowl's over. We're moved on from that. We're looking forward to 2025, and we like to call Fridays Football Friday on this show, typically. So we're going to start something today, and we're going to run through the entire, till April and the NFL draft. Every Friday going forward, we will do a mock draft. Today will be Eagles Draft Mock 1.0, and I need each and every one of you to help me through this, because I am no draft expert. I am no expert on the prospects. So I am going to need you to help me make these selections today. Like maybe later this offseason, before the draft, maybe I'll even have a couple of the core 12 on to help me with the draft. So we'll see how this goes. Also want to talk a little bit about yesterday. Shout out to Chris Franklin, NJ.com, coming on the show. Brought a lot of great insight and a lot of great information to the chat, and the show ended right after the interview. So I want to recap some of the things he said, some of the finer Eagles points that he brought up. So we're going to talk about that as well. One specific thing that I want to touch on right away. But what's up, K1? Good morning to you. Hope you're well. Yeah, we started at 449. Can we get to 451 today? I mean, it'd be cool. Are you getting drafted in the Army with that? You know what? I always feel good. When I don't give myself a haircut often enough. Always feels good after you tighten up the hair. I trimmed up the beard a little bit. You can't tell. The beard is quite trim. Marshawn, I got something just locked in. Special guest next Friday, just for you, Marshawn. You've been asking for it. I've locked it in next Friday. Special guest on this show for Football Friday. But I'm sure we'll talk a lot more than just football with next Friday's special guest. So stay tuned for that one. Good morning, Stephen Fuentes. Yes, fresh hair. It's not a Football Friday. It's a fresh haircut Friday. I did not confirm nor deny that, Marshawn. You asked for it. I locked it in. I would have done it sooner, but I got some things going on next week. So there'll be a couple days we miss shows next week, but there is a special guest. Wink, wink, Marshawn, next Friday. And who knows what he is going to talk about and what he is going to have to say. But you'll have to tune in next Friday to find out. Just so you know. Just saying. What does TMZ always want? More value? There might be a lot of value in next Friday's show. Anyway, So before we do a mock draft today, let's talk a little bit about what Chris Franklin had to say. Chris Franklin covered the entire offseason for the Eagles, the 4 big free agents, the draft, the Myles Garrett rumors, et cetera, et cetera. The guys on the Eagles that could stay, could go. Talked about Darius Slay, Dallas Goedert, which, on the Dallas Goedert front, saw a report from John Bacard, Bell Birds, and some other stuff, former WIP, that he knows that there's at least 2 AFC teams that have inquired about Dallas Goedert. But I want to start with Josh Sweat. We've all written off Milton Williams and Josh Sweat coming. And Chris Franklin reiterated there's pretty much zero chance that Milton Williams comes back. And by the way, K1, I did see you say, take a stand, Chris, yesterday when I was interviewing him, because he was being very politician-esque when answering certain questions yesterday, which I thought was hilarious. But, he was very, very open about the fact that he does not think that it's as unlikely as we think that Josh Sweat might return to the Philadelphia Eagles. That Josh Sweat's market might not be as crazy as we think. That Josh Sweat, when all the cuts happen, when all the roster adjustments happen, with the way the draft shakes out, Josh Sweat might only be the 5th or 6th at best defensive end edge rusher available this offseason. He's not the best like we thought. But with Landry available, with Garrett available, maybe. With Bosa being available, maybe. Khalil Mack being available. That Josh Sweat might be falling down the line a little bit. And I was shocked he said that, because I've pretty much not considered Josh Sweat coming back to the Eagles this year. You said him, he, or his. I only asked for LP and Mrs. Renee Washington. Okay, all right. You only asked for 2. I didn't confirm nor deny. I think you got the answer that you want. I haven't reached out to Renee Washington yet. Fresh Haircut Friday. Oh, I already put that up there. Yeah. Sammy Valimaki. Is that right? I bet him last week and he disappointed. Love the haircut. Yeah, I do. I look like a villain from John Wick. Deeb's sending me villains of the James Bond era stuff in DMs right before this show. I look like a villain? Really? Oh, no, I just feel clean. Anybody that has short hair like me, and when you let it go as long as I let it go, when you get a fresh haircut, you trim up the beard, you just feel good. I feel good this morning. I'm a little tired, but I feel good this morning with it. Thank you very much, Anthony. Good morning to you. Hope you are well. Would you be disappointed if Sweat comes back, especially with all the... I do not want Myles Garrett. I would be more excited about them coming to terms on Josh Sweat at 2 years, whatever, 3 years, whatever, than trading 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, Nolan Smith, and whatever else it's going to take. Chris Franklin brought up a key point. I don't know if you were listening to the entire portion of the interview or not, Marshawn. He brought up something that the Eagles like to rotate their defensive ends and edge rushers. You never see guys, well, you might have seen it a little bit less as the season went along into the playoffs, but they like to keep a rotation. They don't like to have one guy out there 98% of the time. Jalen Carter's a special breed, and he's interior, but on the edge, they like to rotate him in. Sweat, Hunt, Nolan Smith, Brandon Graham this year. 4, 5 guys. You go out and pay what it's going to take to pay Myles Garrett, and you're going to have to change that philosophy. You're also going to have to change the philosophy of Vic Fangio with Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett ain't dropping back into coverage if you're paying him $20 million and giving up multiple first-round picks. You're paying him to sack the quarterback. So is Myles Garrett even the right fit for this team? No, Milton Williams is not an edge. Milton Williams is in the interior. No, we're just talking about what Chris Franklin said yesterday, where he's sure Milton Williams is gone, but I was shocked that he said he actually thinks that Josh Sweat may return to the Philadelphia Eagles. And that plays into what the drafting process is. Free agency's first, then the draft. Free agency directly impacts what the Eagles do at the draft. You lose Milton Williams, you keep Josh Sweat, now you're drafting a defensive tackle in the first round or with your first pick. If you're losing Josh Sweat, you might entertain defensive end edge rusher with that first pick. You're a tracksuit away from Russian mafia enforcer. Come on now. I'm no commie. At least I'm not sure. Spot Track puts Sweat's value at 18. That's insane. Look, Spot Track, is it SPO Track or is it Spot Rack? First off, that's a very key question here. How do you pronounce Spot Track? I say Spot Track. Is it SPO Track or Spot Rack? I don't know. Spot Track is kind of similar to PFF. Those values that they put on that site are often very wrong. There's nobody. If Myles Garrett's making $20 million a year, there's not a single person out there, K1, that's going to give Josh Sweat $18 million a year. Just like he might get 12, but I think that's the max that you're going to see, especially with all the bigger names available. Josh Sweat's also not young. He's going to be, 28, 29 years old. He's coming off, pretty bad injuries in the past, so he ain't getting no 8. He's not getting a 3-year, 55. I originally thought he would get a Bryce Huff deal, which was 3 years, $51 million. But now I'm thinking about it, that might even be a bit much, in my opinion. Sweat was an unrestricted free agent last year. Exactly. Very good point, Anthony. Nobody wanted him last year, and he had a really great Super Bowl, but he did not have a great year. He had a good year. I really don't want Sweat more than $12 million a year. Unpopular opinion. Look, I was just shocked that Chris Franklin brought up the higher likelihood than I realized of Josh Sweat returning. That was just something that I was shocked by yesterday. And we didn't get to recap it. That's why we're starting with recapping his interview. I rewatched the interview and took an entire page of notes. Good morning, Duck. How are you doing today? Phil could be a capo. He's too old to be a button. Yeah, I'm more like the semi-retired guy. I'm there for advice. I ain't getting hands-on anymore in the regime. Garrett is great, but the price is too high. We can also use that for young talent. Look, the Eagles love their young talent. The Eagles are one of the absolute youngest teams in the NFL this past year. And that is with Josh Sweat in his upper 20s. That is with Darius Slay, the second oldest cornerback that started in the NFL in 2024. And despite that, they still were one of the youngest teams in the NFL. Are you talking about Sweat's Twitter? I forgot to mention that, Pump Man. Thank you for. You know what? I forgot to. If you could see my notes, how sloppy they are. That is somewhere written in this page of notes. Yes, one of the other Eagles content creators or Eagles pages or Instagram pages posted something about Josh Sweat pretty much being gone, and Josh Sweat had a response that led me to believe that Chris Franklin's theory is a lot more accurate than we realize. That Josh Sweat really might want to come back, might be planning on coming back. It's Spot Track, but there's only one T. You just verbally double up on the T, even though it's not written. I guess. It's always something that bothered me. Is it Spot Track or Spot Track or Star Trek or whatever the hell it is? I pronounce it Spot Rack, and it's pretty on point with where contracts go. I remember looking into this last year and thinking it was really off. I could be totally wrong, though, K1. But $18.8 million for Josh Sweat, I would be utterly shocked if he got $18.8 million per year. Anything more than 12 or 13, and you're overpaying. And to me, that's just, yeah. What do you think about Sirianni hiring another Italian on his coaching staff? Hey, I'm happy for my paisanos, okay? I don't look Italian. I look like a Russian mob guy, according to you guys. But I got more Italian coursing through these veins, more Italian blood than anything else. All right? So I'm proud of my paisanos. I am. Fine, upstanding Italian Americans. Sweat at 12 to 14 is reasonable, but over that, you let him walk. Yeah, agreed. And with all the names, Duck, Myles Garrett, maybe, and Chris Franklin does not think Myles Garrett even gets traded. He thinks he stays in Cleveland, and Cleveland has said they don't want to trade him. Cleveland has said they want to extend him. But Myles Garrett, Khalil Mack, whatever Bosa boy might be available, Harold Landry, there's going to be a lot of more prominent names in that edge rusher category that are available that's going to price down Josh Sweat. Before, like, there's literally like 400 names in the NFL that have been given permission to seek trades. Some of them are defense ends. I don't remember it being this big of a deal. You have permission to seek a trade, as it is this year. But Josh Sweat returning. You also got to think about these guys and whether they fit what Fangio wants. And we talked about that with Chris, about how Howie Roseman is on the same page, not just with his scouting department, not just with Nick Sirianni, with the offense and defensive coordinators. You've got to give your coaches the tools they need and want to succeed. Myles Garrett is great in any defense. He's the closest thing to Reggie White since TJ Watt. Yeah, and Vic Fangio would hate to shift his philosophy, but Vic Fangio, for someone like Myles Garrett, would shift his philosophy, I am sure. But is it worth it, mister? That's always the question with, is it worth it? And remember, Howie Roseman said, and let me page back to my Howie Roseman notes, everything we do has to be taken from somewhere else. So you get Myles Garrett, you might be losing Zach Bond. You might have to give up Dallas Goedert to afford him. Like, there is going to be an effect to that cause of getting Myles Garrett. Love what Sweat did this year, but he is streaky. Exactly. And I don't think you and I, Big Al, are the only ones that realize that Josh Sweat is streaky, right? I think other people realize it, and that's why his value might not be as high as we think it is. Dollar for dollar is what I mean. I also remind you, Lane might retire in the next 2 years, which means there is a balloon payment for the phantom years. There's always going to be something. Lane Johnson's contract has been renegotiated more times than never mind. Anyway, you know what I mean. So I don't know. Maybe they'll find a new way to renegotiate it to fix that issue. I don't know. But yes, Lane Johnson will. I would give Lane Johnson this year and maybe one more year, in my opinion. If he goes through this year healthy, he'll play one more year. If this is one of those years where he gets banged up an immense amount, I could see him calling it quits. Also could see him calling it quits if we win another Super Bowl and win back-to-back. Josh Sweat is a rotational guy at best, and he won't be worth the money. He gets to play in high amounts of snaps. Great Super Bowl, but we're constantly seeing his performance. I agree with you. That's why I was so shocked that Chris Franklin was so adamant about Josh Sweat returning. Unless we get him and again, as we've already said, nobody wanted him last year. He was allowed to go elsewhere. Nobody wanted him. I think teams realize what Josh Sweat is, a rotational guy. A guy that can play snaps, a guy that can get pressure. He's going to have 3 sacks in 2 weeks and then no sacks for the next 4 weeks. So in that case and in that scenario, though, if he's only worth, say his market's dry and he's now really only worth $10 million a year, I'll gladly bring Josh Sweat back on a 2-year, $20 million, $14 million guaranteed type contract. Why not? Didn't even think it was in the possibilities. Sirianni didn't bring back Frank Reich because he's not Italian. Damn Italians, ruining everything. Edge rushers who get 2.5 sacks in a Super Bowl, it only takes one team who goes crazy. That is true. And there are several teams that have loads of money. I don't track all the big numbers for every team, but I know like the Patriots, I think I read, have like $120 million in cap space. I can see them overpaying for players like a Josh Sweat. You know, like the Commanders have loads of money. Their goal is to beat the Eagles. And I love what he said about Chris Franklin about Washington. Because I was talking about how I hate the idea of Howie Roseman overpaying to keep a said player, Myles Garrett, out of Washington. And Chris Franklin said, it's Eagles, Washington. You want home field advantage in the playoffs. You see how that worked out for the Eagles this past year. It's whoever wins the division gets home field advantage. Whoever doesn't win the division is a wild card team and has to go on the road. It is very important to beat Washington. And I loved Chris Franklin bringing that up because I hate when you build your offseason around beating one team. We've seen this before. You know, baseball, you go get a left-handed reliever because, you know, the other team that knocked you out the year before has a bunch of big left-handed hitters. You go out and draft a quarterback because you can't stop A.J. Brown. And that's the only reason why you do it. Like, I normally hate that. But Chris Franklin brought up an excellent point about you've got to stay one step ahead of Washington. Phil looks like Malkovich. Pay that man his money. Check it, check it, check. All he do is check. He trapped me. The greatest poker movie and a phenomenally underrated movie right there. Rounders. I've seen it a million times. Every time I watch that, I get the itch to go to Atlantic City, the Borgata poker room, as I used to live in that room back in the day. They're also good edge rushers through the projected fourth round of the draft, which we are going to in a little bit. I got the screen ready to share. We are going to do a mock draft here, so everyone stay tuned. I want all your help and input in predicting this draft and putting this one out. We have the coaches to get them properly prepped. Vic needs young men to mold. Being upset and having a meeting before the parade. We didn't really talk about this. Lambasting your defense that just won the Super Bowl for giving up 22 second-half points. That is the most Vic Fangio thing in the world. And I love it. I love it. Nothing is ever good enough. Vic Fangio, he's a real guy. He's a real deal. I always heard it as Spo track. That's how it reads to me, but I don't know. I need the founder of Spot Check to come on here. I don't even know who that is. Only young men and driven men put up with that. Soft men don't show up because they will complain to the GM. And I don't know. Myles Garrett seems like a good dude. If Myles Garrett, he wants to be traded, but he's not causing drama. Chris reminded us that, Myles Garrett's not going to pull Hassan Reddick and go to Japan and be a samurai warrior instead of showing up to camp. If Lane stays healthy, it takes a lot to make Lane unhealthy, doesn't it? That's true. It's very true. Lane fights through it all. Lane's one tough SOB, but Lane has missed time over the last couple of years. According to Spot Track YouTube page, it's Spot Track. Well, they need to change the name then and put 2 T's in it, okay? Or put a hyphen in there or something. They got to do a better job of spelling right there. Since when is there ever a dry market for edge rushers? I'm not saying there's a dry market for edge rushers. I'm just saying, will teams really take that risk on Josh Sweat and pay $18.8 million, as you say? Spot Track lists him as his market value. I don't think so. Think about it. 18.8. What's that times 3? 60. That's 3 years, $56 million. That's more than what Bryce Huff got. Bryce Huff was coming off of a 10.5 or 11.5 sack season. Remember, I warned y'all when we signed him. I said it on this very show that Bryce Huff, it was only his first year of success. And was that an overpay? Was he a one-hit wonder? Turns out he might have been a one-hit wonder. We better hope he's not a one-hit wonder. Super Bowl champion title gives a so-so player the pay increase. And I agree with that. And a lot of teams make that mistake of overpaying players and coaches that come off a Super Bowl because they want that Super Bowl win in their locker room. They want that Super Bowl experience. They think Lovato, the long snapper who's out there practicing Brandon Mann, the punter, practicing his snap hold on kicks while he's on vacation some tropical island. That's all it takes to turn your franchise around. I get that. I do get that. Not gonna lie. The thought of Carter and Garrett playing together is awesome, but equally awesome is the idea of double dipping in the D line in rounds 1 and 2 and setting up the D for greatness for the next 5 to 6 years. Absolutely. Do you want Myles Garrett and Jalen Carter to dominate for the next 2? Or do you want to have a great defense for the next 5 to 6 years? When you lose somebody, say we lose Jordan Davis, you got the next guy. When we lose Milton Williams, you got the next guy in Moro Ojomo. Having that constant rotation of youth on that D-line, Clint Hurt developing them, big picture might be smarter. Yeah, that defense would be sick next year. Garrett and Carter have played 95% of the snaps together. Can you imagine them lining up on the same side by side? Who do you double team? Jalen Carter might become Defensive Player of the Year next year if you got Myles Garrett on the outside, or vice versa. The Pats will be buying O-line to protect their young and talented quarterback standing upright. Absolutely. That might be part one of Mekhi Becton leaving town. I have heard the Patriots and Mekhi Becton linked in rumor mills for sure. Guys, make sure you're hitting that like button and that share button and that subscribe button, guys. Please click all those buttons for me. I appreciate it. This is a weird draft where guys drafted 10 and later are really no different than what the Eagles should get at 32. This draft is deep at edge, defensive tackle, and is set up perfectly for every time I run. I only share a few mock drafts, but I run mock drafts all day long just for fun, to see the trades, to see who falls and whatnot. Every time I'm at 32, there's 2 or 3 defensive tackles available every single time. So, yes, there's going to be a lot of guys available for the Eagles, and we'll see in a few minutes where we go. Bold prediction, Kyle Pitts. I heard a few, not people in the know, but a few people hint at this, Marshawn, a few times. It's interesting. And you know what? I think it's worthy to write it down because I got to do a little bit more research on his contract situation, what it would cost to trade for a tight end like him. I got to do a little bit more research on it, but you know what? Crazier things about if they get off of Dallas Goedert, which I still think there's a chance. And like I said, John Picard, who I know, is said that he's heard of 2 teams. The Broncos were one of them. I forget who the other one was that have inquired about Dallas Goedert. Go get Kyle Pitts. Josh Sweat had a devastating knee injury in high school. He is lucky to have an NFL career. I think he's peaked as an NFL player. Peaked might be part of it for sure. I remember being head over heels in love with Kyle Pitts during the draft. I'm never in love with a tight end that's going in the top 10 or 15 of an NFL draft. I'll just say that. Deebs, we all wanted Pitts. We all wanted Pitts. We all wanted Bijan Robinson. All the Falcons players we wanted in Philly. Our secondary coach in high school would ride our defense if they gave up 7 yards. Too much, too damn much. I can see that. Yeah, exactly. I think the Eagles are definitely drafting a tight end in rounds 1 to 3 at some point. Yeah, probably. Unless you go get Kyle Pitts, then you never know. Christian Parker works so well with our secondary. He should be at DC soon. You know, it's a shame. It's the sad part of it. Parker, Hunt, and what's the linebacker coach's name? Will all be candidates over the next year or two to be DCs somewhere. Hopefully one of them is being groomed to be the eventual replacement for Vic Fangio. Hopefully Vic Fangio and one of them are working together with Howie Roseman. Don't go anywhere. You're the guy that's going to replace me. I don't know which one, but yeah. Is it Deebs or Deebs? All right. I see. It's a free country. Spot check can spell their name however they want. Is it a free country? No, I'm just kidding with you. I don't want to go deep. I think Lane's problem is the game is starting to take a drain on him. You can perfect, but depend on the guys. Also, you deal with the mental side of things. He struggled with that. He's doing great work in the mental health world. He wants to do more after football. So, you don't want to be Joel Embiid having to break hips to alleviate pain. You want to have a quality of life. Lane's got to think about quality of life. I always say Deebs. I say Deebs. I pronounce it as if it's D-E-E-B. There's some offensive tackle talent in the 3rd to 5th rounds. They are just huge. Yep, absolutely. I've been called Deebs my entire life, but that's not how it's pronounced. Oh, okay. Deibs is how it's pronounced. Deibs because D-I-E. But see, the thing is, in German, D-I is pronounced D because the letter I in German is pronounced E. A, B, C, D, A, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, P. See, I know my German language and German alphabet and how to pronounce German words. So that's why my name is Stiefel, but in German it's pronounced Stiefel because the I is pronounced E. See, you learn something new every day on Trending in the AM. Some AFC team may overpay Sweat since he beat up on Patrick Mahomes. Possibly. It's Deebs. It's Deebs. It's whatever we want. Peanut is in the house. What is up, Peanut? A way too soon mock draft show is exactly what I needed this morning. We've gone 30 minutes and I haven't even put the mock draft up on the screen, Peanut. We're just doing whatever we want. We're talking. We're having a good time today. Dives are you going to tell us? Goddard is a solid blocker. Can Pitts block? It's a good question. And I don't think he can, but I don't know if you could judge anything from his time in Atlanta, because Atlanta's just been dreadful offensively. How can you take a talent like him? And we've crossed the 20 concurrent viewers. Guys, there should be at least 20 likes on this video. 20 likes. There should be at least more than 449 subscribers. So like, subscribe, share, please, guys. It sounds like Dibes. Die BS. Is that what it is? Die BS. And you thought of the prospect of Myles Garrett going to Washington. I have. And that is what I discussed with Chris Franklin. Do you make a move to keep him out of Washington? And I think that's a very fair question, mister. What's going to happen? Can Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata? Hasn't Jordan Mailata had success against Myles Garrett? I think. I'm pretty sure. A podcast I was listening to yesterday was saying that the Pats need to get weapons this offseason because Drake May is a great quarterback. Well, some CBS broadcast people, I shared it out on Twitter, Anthony, I'm sure you saw it, would take Drake May over Jalen Hurts at this point. Danny Kanell, I think, was who it was. Former NFL quarterback. Idiot is what I'll call him. Dibes is Hall, half of my last name. Okay. Bijan Robinson would have been amazing behind our O-line over the last few years. Yeah. But now I'm not worried about him because we got Saquon. Saquon's also a very bad basketball player. If you didn't see that video, look up Saquon Barkley playing basketball with A.J. Brown the other day. He is not the hooper. We'll say that. Hey, learn. Yeah, you learn to use a notification. I can't turn your notifications on, which is weird because it never occurred to be pronounced Stiefel. No, it's Stiefel. I don't know. My dad said over decades and generations of being in America, my name got, according to my German teacher in high school, my name got Americanized, is what I was told. I'm so glad I was so against Bijan. Wanted nothing to do with him. Yeah, look, we did shows. I think this was multiple networks ago. When the Bijan draft was, and I spent plenty of time saying I would be okay with it, but I didn't want it. I knew he was talented, but didn't want to spend the money. That was coming off of Miles Sanders before we drafted DeAndre Swift. Could it be Bijan? Maybe, but I wasn't for it. Phil Hare did, yeah. Look, I'm trying to look fresh, trying to look clean. I thought maybe a fresh haircut would re-energize me because I've been a little in a rut lately, a little down in the dumps. So I thought a fresh haircut would put a smile on my face. I don't know if it will for real or not, but it makes me pretend to. Did we ever talk Eagles and White House? We have not, and I'm trying to stay away from that conversation because honestly, it doesn't change a thing to me. I could care less if they go or not. It doesn't mean anything. And we can get into that if you want. It's a deep conversation. As long as everybody chooses to discuss it in a friendly manner, which that's why we don't discuss it, because I know everybody can't discuss it in a calm and open-minded way. Deebs is the B-side. D's. So it's D's. So it's D's nuts. We are not allowed in case there are some, well, we'll see. The thing is, and see, Anthony, and I don't, we talk off screen. I don't disagree with most of your philosophies and all. But again, everybody's entitled to their opinion. So that's why we don't discuss it. Okay? The Paisan is speaking in German. Yes. Okay? All right? I speak German. Ich spreche Deutsch. Ich verstehe sehr gut, aber nicht spreche sehr gut. Yeah, that's about it. Why do we care about Deeb's name so much? Like, where did this show go off track? I can't get into it. But what I will say about the White House thing, there are people that would refuse to be Eagles fans because they went to the White House. Me, I don't care what the players do. I don't care what the players' opinions are. I cheer for the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey. And if the players choose it, fine. That's their. I'm not going to burn my Eagles gear because they went to the White House. This is the same thing that happened during the Michael Vick signing. I got into a huge fight with a customer because he was burning his Eagles gear because they signed Michael Vick. And he knows I'm a dog person. Lots of dogs in my household. But because I wasn't burning my Eagles gear, he was never going to come into my pizza shop again. Because how dare they hire or sign Michael Vick? Well, it was a pretty serious, heated discussion. Because I told him, I cheer for the Eagles logo, not the name on the back of the jersey. Where's Mitch when we need him? Why? Did we get to 469? So as long as Lane Johnson, Mailata, and Stoutland U are here, I'm not worried about Miles in Washington. Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say worried. But I mean, Myles Garrett's a great player. Where is this Drake May love coming from? I don't get it. Look, I don't get the Drake May love either. I don't get more the Drake May love is more about hating on Jalen Hurts than is Drake May being good. This guy, I think it was Danny Kanell, this CBS video, shared it on Twitter, he had Trevor Lawrence better than him, Drake May better than him. He named like a dozen quarterbacks that he said he would take over Jalen Hurts right now. And again, he's just doubling down on the theory that if you criticize Jalen Hurts, we talk about him, and we're doing it, and it works. Pats can get a few good wide receivers in the draft and pay for a wide receiver one. Are there any wide receiver ones that are free agents? I don't even know what the free agent market is for wide receivers because we don't need one. Danny Kanell was about as close to NFL quarterback as tuna pizza is. Gotcha. The Patriots O-line and wide receivers were trash. May never had a chance as a rookie. Agreed. What did Bijan do? Nothing. We're just talking about him. Abdul Carter, what are we thinking? That he's going to fall all the way to 32 to the Eagles because of that stress fracture. I'm a big fan of Eagles. Good morning, little G. Hope you are well. Zach Ertz is unrestricted free agent. Goddard is too expensive. Yeah, I mean, go out and trade for Kyle Pitts and then bring in Zach Ertz as the backup tight end too. Now there's a tight end room right there. That's something interesting. Yeah, look, you get what I'm getting at. I wouldn't go just because. Yeah, look, I'm staying away from it. House rules always been no religion, no politics, no gender, and nobody. Exactly, Marshawn. You are. I mean, Eric is the gatekeeper, but you are the moderator of the group chat and the house rules, right? Exactly. Yeah. Don't try to get me to say German. I can't read the screen in English. You want me to try? Ist das nicht ein Schinzenbank? Yeah. I love this team so much. They all seem like such good guys. I personally will be crushed. Look, don't be crushed. You love the team. Doesn't mean that a player's opinion should change your feelings on the team. Everyone I know, my friends, are lefties. Lefties are like the devil, though. Peanut says, that's the problem when our opinions matter. They normally suck and tend to get yeah. Let's stick to the draft talk and clear. Yeah, we're house rules dictate. Hurts was finally made a top 5 quarterback list at 5, which is stupid. Dude, just to troll, I'm going to make a top 10 quarterback list, and I'm going to put Jalen Hurts at number 1. Maybe I can get the bonus clicks by saying Jalen Hurts is the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now. You know why? Because he's the defending, undisputed, reigning Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Hurts. Pats fans are obsessed about A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is not being traded to the Patriots. There is zero chance. I would literally bet my life savings, which isn't much, on A.J. Brown. I would sell I'm trying to sell my pizza shop. I would do a lot. I would put a lot on the line that A.J. Brown isn't leaving the Eagles, period, let alone going to the Patriots. We haven't talked about the Patriots enough about how stupid it was. They moved on from one coach to what's his name, Vrabel, who I think is an overrated coach anyway. Chris Jones was a non-factor in the Super Bowl. We were just talking about how he should have been the MVP in the last Super Bowl. that Stoutland U and the O-line lining that shit up. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. That was our biggest concern in the Super Bowl was Chris Jones, really, right? That and stopping Travis Kelce, and we did both of those things. No, now Travis Kelce, he was hurt. Making excuses. It's also important why Mekhi Becton is so important this offseason. You want to have that continuity, and that's what Chris Franklin said yesterday. Continuity on that offensive line. Keeping Mekhi Becton for year 2. He only had 1 year learning under Stoutland U. I'm breaking the bank to keep Mekhi Becton here in Philadelphia. Keep that O-line together. Did you kick that customer's ass during the, say he was actually a cop? So no, I did not. He had no problem sending his daughter for a job 2 years later, but no. I don't remember I don't think they were teaching us German drinking songs in high school, but maybe I missed that day. The only why the song they taught us in high school was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, wo ist denn mein Ball geblieben? That was it. It was just how we learned our numbers. The only wide receiver in free agent I would consider is Higgins. I thought Higgins was staying in Cincinnati. Amari Cooper is. Stefan Diggs. I forgot Godwin was. The others I didn't realize were, Duck. I've honestly barely looked at the free agent list of everything. Savion Jones would be a fun day 3 to develop behind AJ for a couple of years. I doubt they draft a wide receiver deeps with Smith and Johnny Wilson last year. Dotson still under contract. I doubt they go wide receiver in the draft at all. Maybe they add some guys on the practice squad or undrafted free agents, but that's it. How are Lamar, Josh better than Hurts? I know for a fact Jalen is number 1 at winning and playing in the big stage. Exactly. I mean, you could still make an argument that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football right now, even though we just beat him. But there's no other quarterback has had the track record of Jalen Hurts. And anytime someone says Jalen Hurts can't throw and he wins because of whatever, just show them that throw he made to Devontae Smith in the Super Bowl. End of argument. That's a mic drop right there. Is 3 firsts enough for AJ? I don't want 3 firsts for AJ Brown. First off, just so you understand, everybody's got a price. There's no player that's above being traded in any sport for the right offer. But I forget the exact number. I don't have the Eagles salary cap thing up. But the dead cap hit for trading AJ Brown is like $90 million. So they literally would be able to not field a roster if they traded AJ Brown. The gatekeeper is here. Good morning, Eric. Hope you are well. What's with Kelce and zoning? What is he trying to build in his property? I'm not sure. That's not like this came up yesterday or 2 days ago that he was at some board meeting in his township. That's not the first time that's come up. He's gone to multiple board meetings over the last year. You don't know what he's trying to do, but he's trying to do something. I don't know. Their teams couldn't get past the Chiefs, who we beat. Trans properties could have beat them. Yeah. There are a few oldish guards out there in free agency this year. They could be signed to 1-year team-friendly deals. Sad, but Becton can walk. I'm sorry. I disagree. Continuity is important. I say that the offensive line is like a pitching rotation in baseball. You need that 6th guy. Tyler Steen's that 6th guy. And if somebody goes down, Becton can move around. Steen steps in. You do not lose Mekhi Becton. I don't care that Stoutland U could develop the next guy. Becton stays. That's my opinion. I mean, not my gut feeling. I think my gut feeling says he leaves, that he gets more money elsewhere. But if I had the decision, I'm telling you, Mekhi Becton is as close to a 1B to Zach Bond 1A as there is out there. Schwarber bad at leadoff yesterday. It's spring training. I get it. I've said it before, mister. I won't believe it till I see it. Are we doing a mock draft? I got the screen up there. I'm trying to catch up on comments first. I'm rapping. I'm not rapping in German, that's for sure. Tutu Atwell is cheap. Exactly, Duck and Jalen, but beat Lamar and Josh. Jones beat them all. Every good quarterback he's beaten out there. Will be fine with the additional snaps. Are you sure about that? It's iconic for it's ironic the Eagles are great again, but won't go to the White House. I don't know. Ability to win is the most overlooked stat that people can't. We got away from winning is all that matters. Winning's not a stat anymore. I'm ready to roll with Steen. Still need depth, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Eagles address that area in free agency. I disagree. Patrick Mahomes won Super Bowls because of his defense, though. Nobody says that. I'm not. I mean, be called a hater. Be called a hater for saying that, you know? Traven Keegan progress this offseason will be key. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not ready to progress to guys like Keegan's to move off of Becton. I'm just not. Also, I'm not talking wide receiver 3 when we have Dotson. He should be utilized even for 400, 500 yards. I agree. And I think you'll see more passing next year. Kelsey is trying to build a barn and add a gate for security and privacy reasons. He needs to deal with water runoff so it won't flood his neighbors. That's what it is. Gotcha. Let Becton walk. Very heavy O-line draft. You just can't replace somebody. Jalen is better than Tua, Herbert, Jackson, Purdy, etc. Only Mahomes is ahead, and Jalen outplays him head-to-head. I mean, he even outplayed him in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. If you are lactose intolerant, then you should not trust your gut. I may be, but I love milk, so. Cough, Gray. Yeah. Did you have Jake Knapp shooting 59? I did not. I had Daniel Berger, first-round leader, 45-1, and he finished in second place. That's why I don't bet first-round leaders. If I bet a guy first-round leader, guaranteed he finishes in second place. And Jeff Stoutland, I get the Jeff Stoutland we trust thing. I just, at some point, you got to have continuity. You got to have depth. Get it right. Winning is not a positive stat for Hurts and the Eagles. For every other team, it only matters for other teams. Exactly. A bro barn in Delco. Let's go. Yeah. Germany is an interesting place. I got temporarily stationed in Germany, military base. They have unisex bathrooms. Have you ever stepped out of a shower and saw a woman? Yeah. I only ever made it to Germany in the airport. I flew through Germany a few times, back and forth to Europe for cruise ship days. But I've never actually been to Germany, like, and visited Germany. All the countries I've been to in Europe, and that was one I haven't been to. I have serious fatigue from the Kelseys. Oh, I absolutely do. All right, so I'm finally caught up on the comments. So Marshawn asks, and I promised, so we are going to do Mock Draft Eagles 1.0. All right, so I'm just going to start this mock draft here, and when we get to the Eagles, we'll see what kind of trades, who's available. Oops, I don't want to restart, so I already got it. We're going to resume the draft. So let's just pause it right there after pick 16. I just want to see Cam Ward went 1, Sanders 2, overrated. Abdul Carter fell to 4. Got it. All right, resume draft. Let's see where the Eagles are at 32. First and foremost, the trades. Detroit offering 60, 101, 198, and the second. That's a lot. 57 and a second. All right, let's see. We got defensive tackle Ole Miss, Walter Nolan. We got Kenneth Grant, Michigan defensive tackle. We got a safety. We got Mike Green from Marshall. Deeves, who are we taking here? Anybody. But what do we want? Do we want one of the trades, or do we want one of the defensive tackles here? Small hill on the side of his property. Can we get to 4? We're still not at 450. Please like, subscribe, share. Start at 449. We got to get to at least 450 subscribers. Cam Jurgens doesn't prove me wrong. That's true. I'm wondering who designed our route running for wide receivers. Well, that would be Kellen Moore, and he's gone now. Who are we taking with this pick? Good thing I'm not driving. I am so high. I go with the trade. Which one? The Detroit trade? Because the Detroit trade was offering an awful lot. We got a Walter Nolan request here, which is a defensive tackle from Ole Miss, 6'3", 296-pound, athletic 3 technique defensive tackle, valuable asset in today's NFL. We got a couple votes so far for different things. At 500, Phil throwing legs and strippers. What? No. Stop. We want the mock draft, but let me look at this trade again. because we're at 32. Next pick is 64. So then we'd have pick 60 and 64, plus 101 and 198, and a second next year. Man, I don't know if I could do that. I would be going between one of these defensive tackles. I like Michigan just because it's a bigger school, bigger games than Ole Miss probably in general. But you go the best player on the board, trade the pick. Petula was the pass game coordinator. That's true. Kemsky likes Nolan. Do we trust Kemsky enough? I don't know. That Detroit trade is nice. It is a nice trade. Duck, we'll accept the trade on the next run through. I think right now we will stick with the pick this time, and we will go with. I think we're going to go with the best player on the board, Walter Nolan. I think we go Walter Nolan. We'll see what we get to at the next. There would be, and there still will be, and we're seeing. We are now at pick 64. No one offered us a trade. We got a tackle on the board. We got the edge rusher from Ohio State, 6'4", 265. This would be a pick just to get me to try to pronounce his name. Tumalou? Is that how you say it? I don't even know how to say his name. You could go with an offensive tackle, Lane Johnson's eventual replacement. I wouldn't go this high in the draft with that. If you lose Josh Sweat, JT is the pick here. If you're not losing JT or Lane Josh Sweat, then you could go elsewhere here. Surprised I wasn't offered a trade here in this situation. But guys, I mean, I'm thinking JT. Let's read his thing. Jack of all trade player, impressive frame, explosiveness while underwhelming as a pass rusher. Maybe I don't want him. He should be a steady hand on the outside as an edge setter. His explosiveness and length occasionally allows him to win through the chest. How's a guy with that bad of a write-up, such a highly rated prospect? That I don't know. His blue-chip offensive lineman. He's our unsung hero right there. Okay, so you're going tackle. Too small for Stoutland U. Great value. That description on PFF was very underwhelming. Very underwhelming description on him. But I think that's the way to go. I think we go edge there. Next pick is number 96. We'll see what we get there. So we've addressed defensive tackle. We've addressed defensive end. It is PFF. Exactly, that's true. For sure. Actually, no, it's not PFF. It's Pro Football Network, PFN. All right, so we're at pick 96. Okay, third round pick. Before we even check out the multiple trades, you got another edge guy available, another tackle available, wide receiver, edge, quarterback. There's no tight ends in the immediate future right here, linebackers. So let's see at 96. We could trade back a few spots and pick up 2 picks. We could trade back 4 and pick up a 5th rounder next year. I actually don't hate that trade. I'm tending to think about this trade here with the Rams, 96 for 105th. Kind of seems like something I might want to go with. So you tell me which one you want to do. Do we pick another edge rusher here? Do we go offensive tackle here? 6'7", 342. That's a behemoth from Rutgers. The ability to dominate in the trenches, size and strength, make him a force in the run game, which we like to do. This could be your Lane Johnson replacement in Holland Pierce right here. Holland Pierce replacement. Interesting. It's great. Yeah, exactly. We only want names. That's all. Phil actually doing a mock draft. Let's go. I've been doing it. Pick 96. Ha. Duck says the Rams. Duck's a trader. Duck likes to trade. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing with PFN. You can't trade players in it. That offensive tackle, the offensive tackle I want. Yeah, I think that's the play right here. Owes it to Stoutland to trade up to get a monster O-line. He's played both right tackle and left tackle. That's huge. Pierce. Oh, that's the tackle. Yeah, I already forgot his name. I agree. Duck, we're going to give you what you want. We're going to go, before I make the selection here in the 3rd round, please like, subscribe, share. You're watching Trending in the AM on the STT Sports Network. Please do all those things for me because it's important. I want that 450. I need that 450 subscriber today. Just like Lane. I think he'd be a perfect replacement, and you get 2 years to groom him. Holland Pierce, lock it in. Dude, this draft is going perfectly so far. Now we're at pick 129. We got one trade offer. Ard 129 7th from 141 to 64. I don't know about that. You got a center, you got a quarterback. I've mocked Jalen Reed to the Eagles a few times. I'm going to tend to lean towards the safety because, again, I'm not sold on Reed, Blankenship, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson long term. Jalen Reed is a name I've seen a few times pop up. Physical, instinctive safety from Penn State. Well-rounded skill set, demonstrating strong tackling ability, willingness to come downhill aggressively in coverage. Reed has the range to patrol deep zones. I think Jalen Reed is a strong possibility right here. That's just me. But we'll see what you guys say here. Pause. What are we pausing for? Man, I think Deion's kid is going to be, but I think Sanders is going to be a bust too. The trade offer sucked. I'm going with the safety personally. It's the same position as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I don't know. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is in year 2 of a 3-year deal. After this year, you might be moving on from Chauncey. I don't know. I'm thinking there's a scenario where Chauncey's not here long term. Consider Jalen Royal. We're already in the round 4, so can't consider round 4 and round 3, but I gotcha. Reed plays a little out of position, but is athletic enough to make up for it. I think at this point of the draft in the 4th round, it's a strong pick. Philly Roseman, yeah, give me his job. Just pick all the challenge. Yeah, just pick all the Jalens. Just pick Jalens just to piss people off. All right, I'm going to go with what I want here, and I'm going to go Jalen. I'm going Jalen Reed here with pick 129. And here comes our final pick here at pick 162. Do we go with the Oregon linebacker? 6'1", 232. Jeffrey Bassa, is it? Versatile linebacker, tradition from safety, which is perfect because linebackers got to cover under Vic Fangio. So that's an option. Another edge rusher. More tackles on the offensive and defensive side. Jonathan, thanks for just tuning in. I appreciate it, my man. You know, always appreciate you tuning in whenever you get into the chat. So appreciate you, my man. Like this show out, please. Maybe share it out on one of your channels. I appreciate that. Random, but did anyone see Jay Higgins' RAS score? It was so bad it might go undrafted. I don't. I haven't. Sorry. Would like that to be close to and into the 9s. I don't even know how the RAS scores work really. So here we are with our last pick so far. To recap, before I make the last pick, we took Diebs, Walter Nolan, JT Tumaluo, Holland Pierce, and Jalen Reed so far. No, this is not just mock draft 1.0. This is mock draft 1.0 with no trades. We still got 2 more picks. We did not get a tight end. I really want a linebacker in this draft somewhere. So Bassa, maybe from Oregon, might be it. Maybe we go with a second defensive end, edge. High effort defensive lineman, known for his position flexibility and athleticism. We like that kind of a player. Flexible players. Howie loves raw scores. There is huge correlation between high RAS scores and Howie draft picks. Give me a quick description on how the scores are calculated. At least that's what my what does not equal causation. Diggs' RAS score is amazing. You guys love your RAS score. You love it. So there we go. We'll get the guy that's got the high RAS score that Howie loves. We'll skip the linebacker and we'll go with Diggs because of the RAS score. And look at that. The linebacker is still there for me. And I get the linebacker at 166. So mock draft 1.0 is done. We do not have a tight end, unfortunately. No tight end fell to us. No tight end was there for us. But this is the first mock draft of the show. And let's look at it again. Deebs, grade this draft. How would you grade the Trending in the AM mock draft 1.0 based off of this. We address the defense massively. We get Lane Johnson's replacement. Basically, Lane Johnson's replacement at 96, Hollis Pierce, the only offensive player taken in the draft. Man, it's an interesting draft. And this goes into the fact we did talk earlier in the show, Jonathan. Someone brought up the idea of trading for Kyle Pitts. Trade for Kyle Pitts, and then you don't draft one. Combination of testings and drills. Well, I knew it stood for raw athletic score, but like, yeah, I got to Google it, and really, I do this almost every draft. I have to remind myself on how it's put together and all. Love Walter Jones. That Ole Miss defense was a bunch of dudes this year. Mock drafts need to include quadratic equations. I was never great at quadratic equations. I know what you meant. Is based on days, physical traits, speed relative to his position, lifting relative to position, and other physical tests. Again, it's B plus. Nolan is number 7 on my big board, and that's a slam dunk. Pearson, elite athlete that Stoutland can mold. Great pick. Inconsistent, but has tools. Fastest, solid coverage linebacker with upside. You described it pretty well. Surprised I didn't get an A- on that. I would have liked an A- at least. Could have given me an A-. But yeah, I'll take a B+ for my first mock draft of Trending the AM. Maybe we'll do another one next week. Maybe next Friday. I don't know. We got a special guest next Friday. Not sure if we'll waste our special guest next Friday's time doing a mock draft. Maybe we'll be skipping a week on it, or I'll do a nighttime mock draft next week. But mock draft 1.0 on Trending the AM. Deebs, D, whatever we call him, says B+ on the first mock draft. We'll just trade Huff for Pitts after draft and maybe sign Ertz to end his career. Good morning, Adam. What's up? President Steve's Cardboard Classic is going on. Well, walk around. You got the QR code and get everybody to subscribe to the STT. We've been sitting at 449 all day long. We should be at 450. We should be at 450, 4,500, not just 450. So walk around the Cardboard Classic. Get Preston and Steve to shout out the STT Sports Network and Trending in the AM. The Giants should hire Phil as GM. I would definitely be able to be a better GM than, I don't want to pronounce his name wrong because supposedly I did that wrong yesterday. Any offseason that involves Howie finding a trade for Bryce Huff is A+. Yes. I don't see how they do it, Deebs, D. I don't see how they do it. I don't. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do 10 in the PM as mock drafts. We'll save the mock drafts for night shows. Would love to do a mock draft with you, but I don't have any mornings off for. We'll schedule a Trending in the PM, Dibs. That's what we'll do. We'll get one on the books. Next week's a tough week. There's gonna be a couple days, maybe a lot of days with no shows from me next week, guys. We'll do Friday because I got special guest. Monday we'll do. Tuesday maybe. Wednesday, Thursday. There ain't no shows next week. Unfortunately, we got some things to take care of. We got Doc the letter grade automatically for being Eagles. Yeah, probably. Ben Simmons is cooking in LA for the Clippers. I'm afraid Ben is getting a ring without us. That would be something. It's got to be named the new quarterback coach of the Philadelphia Eagles per Adam Schefter. Who? It's not Frank Reich. Hold on. Let me pull up Twitter. Let's confirm this. Let's confirm this. Still looking. There's ESP hiring Scott Loafer, new quarterback coach. Last coach in the NFL in 2008 with the Detroit Lions. Head coach of Bowling Green the last 3 seasons with a 27-41 record. Who is this guy? Hasn't been in the NFL for 17 years. Bowling Green head coach. This is an interesting thing right here. I got to do more details on it. Yeah, that does not seem ideal. Let's shrink that. Let's put my pretty face up a little bit bigger here. We should easily be at 500. We should be at 5,000 at this point. Does not sound Italian. No, he does not. It doesn't sound like somebody that was on the radar. Going to Broad Street with the QR code. You should. He played for Michigan. Yeah, well, if he hasn't coached in the NFL since 2008, means he probably played in the NFL or played for Michigan in like 1961. NBA gonna do their best to fix it. So Lakers versus Celtics in the final, just a hunch. Maybe. You know, I forget where I heard this. You want to talk Sixers, Rick, for a second. Just think about this in perspective now when it comes to the Joel Embiid situation. The Sixers drafted a guy that did not play, and they knew wasn't going to play, his first 2 years in the NBA. And they didn't expect, by the time he hits 30, that he'd be degeneratively falling apart. Like, we should have known when we drafted a guy that didn't play for 2 years that he was going to be a problem health-wise. And I just think it's crazy. When I forget which content creator tweeted that out. Is it Jason Ashworth? Maybe Ryan Rothstein. I forget who it was. And when they put it out on paper like that, and you read it and think about it out loud, the fact that Joel Embiid didn't play for so long kind of should have put us on warning then that what's going on now was going to happen. Notice ESPN running 30 for 30 Lakers versus Celtics a few times lately, planting the seeds. Rick bringing the basketball conversation to this football Friday. Maybe it happens. I don't know. I'm so checked out on basketball. I don't even check the box scores often anymore for other teams. I used to, every single morning, I would read every box score of every game. Could care less. Don't even know where everybody is in the standings at this point. No clue. The NBA is unwatchable. The NBA is even more unwatchable when the Sixers are as disastrous as they are. You know, we keep talking about the Sixers and how Josh Harris has Bob Myers on his team in Washington, and that's going to be why they fired Daryl Morey. I heard something from Stephen A. Smith, a clip from him this morning. I don't know when he said it, but I saw the clip this morning. That to also take into account, it's not just Bob Myers. You know who else is part of Josh Harris's team with the Washington Commanders? Magic Johnson. And I didn't know that until I heard Stephen A. Smith say that. I didn't know that Magic Johnson was one of the part owners, too, of the Washington Commanders. So he doesn't just have one great basketball mind. He's got two great basketball minds under his thumb there in Washington. Daryl Morey is as good as gone in this offseason now, I think. Huge fan of NFL draft and all that goes with it. I watch a ton of college football, so it's always fun watching how players can transition from league to league. I do like that. How do they handle it? They do. It's pretty cool. So what do you we've gotten one grade so far from Dives, Rick. How do you grade the first trending in the AM mock draft? Right here on the screen, the first mock draft that we've done on the show. I think I hit some home runs. I think I hit some questionable marks. I think I hit a little bit of everything on this mock draft. This is the first mock draft. Got to know what you think about it. A, bleepity bleep plus from Anthony. B plus from Dives. Big Al's just giving me a minor and a little B. Man, you're a Debbie Downer, Big Al. Luka Doncic just tossed Bronny James how to shoot a basketball. Really? A thumbs up. That's really not a grade, but okay. Darren Morey thinks NBA players have a 2K shelf life. He considered signing a 37-year-old shell of Harden to a max deal, then give a supermax to a 7. Yeah, exactly. He's semi-retired, though, as a podcaster. I think we're settling on a B plus for this draft. I think I could do much worse, but I'm going to put it to the Twitterverse. I'll put it out there on Twitter later. Oh, I guilted Rick into giving it a grade as a B. I guilt tripped you, Rick, into that one. We're at the hour 10 mark, guys. Please like, subscribe, share. Back to Adam saying he's at the Cardboard Cut. The Cardboard Classic from Preston Steve. I can't believe Preston Steve are still going so strong today. Those guys are legends. I remember listening to Preston and Steve back in their Y100 days. I remember listening to Preston and Steve before Steve was part of the show. It was Preston and Merlin. Then it was Preston, Merlin, and Steve. Then just Preston and Steve. I remember when Casey was just an intern. I remember the OG days of the Preston and Steve show. And I can't believe, like 28, 30 years later, they're still going strong and dominating the airwaves. I mean, talk about consistency greatness. Consistent greatness. That's them. B++. And you know what's funny is this is going to look totally different next time we do it. Because, you know, the rankings are going to change after the combine. The rankings are going to change again after free agency. So much is going to change. Morey leaves Houston, comes to Philly, and destroys the Sixers while Houston has played. Yeah, go figure. Daryl Morey sucks, mister. Been saying that since day one. Huge fan of Preston and Steve. I go back and forth most mornings between listening to your show and theirs. Well, Adam said he's at the Cardboard Classic, the Cardboard Cutout Classic. Never went to the Cardboard Classic. But yeah, my favorite part was going to all their the Y100 festivals. Pretty much went to every single one of them back in the 90s, late 90s. I think it's great. I mean, I think Preston Elliott and Steve Morrison are radio legends, and I don't think Casey gets the credit he deserves. The whole team's great, you know, obviously. You know, Nick and Marissa. But I think Preston, Steve, and Casey, I mean, I think Preston and Steve got into the Radio Hall of Fame, honestly. Morey should never get an NBA job again. Oh, I guarantee you he'll get another job. Maybe not immediately, but when the Sixers fire him this offseason, and they are going to fire him, and they are going to fire Nick Nurse, and they're going to sell us on Joel Embiid and the new Sixers organization, and everyone's going to buy in again. I won't. Within a year, Daryl Morey will be back in the front office somewhere. Really good draft for the trenches this year, O-line, D-line. And look, that's what I got a lot of in this draft. So, yeah, there you go on that. I think I nailed addressing. Losing Milton Williams, you got your next replacement. Lose Josh Sweat, you got his replacement. Lane Johnson's replacement eventually. Some depth, some projects. Got a little bit of everything. Big schools, small schools. I hit all different factors in this draft. And I avoided making any trades, which is I love to trade. I love doing mock draft trades. I love picking up 7 draft picks for next year. Shit rolls downhill. That's why 76ers continually subpar. Yep, absolutely. 100% agree with you on that. There's no doubt that right there. But yeah, absolutely. Big Al says Daryl Morey will be with the Sixers next year. What would be more Sixers than keeping Morey? True. And you know, we keep talking about Bob Myers. But again, once I heard Stephen A. Smith remind me that Magic Johnson was also there, you gotta think when Magic and Harris and Myers are sitting around the coffee table, eating their crumpets and tea, that those two basketball minds don't just look over and be like, yo, your team's on fire over there. You better do something. It's embarrassing. Mike Brown or Mark Jackson, our next head coach, haven't gotten to the point of who will the next head coach be. But sure, I feel like Becton will be the eventual replacement for Lane. I don't want Mekhi Becton going. And we've had this discussion on this show. Dives is in the corner that he goes. Me, you keep Becton. And yes, Becton could be, in theory, Lane Johnson's replacement. In theory. I'm all for giving Mekhi Becton a 4-year deal. Keeping him around for the next 4 years. That is me. I don't know how much money Becton will command on the open market, but Mekhi Becton here long term is 100 in play for me. 100%. And I would love to see it. Love to see it. I hope to see it. We'll find out. Anyway, guys, we're coming up to the final 10 minutes of the show. Eagles got a quarterback coach. Breaking news. Thank you, Mitchie Poo. Not sure who this guy is other than he's not been in the NFL for 17 years, and he ran a college program the last few years to a losing record? I don't know. But we got that on the agenda this weekend. We got the Cognizant Classic going on this weekend. We've got Sixers basketball this weekend. More draft thought process this weekend. Man, there's lots going on this weekend. Becton might be priority one for Howie this offseason as free agent goes. I've said it countless times this week, Rick. Zach Bond's 1A, then Mekhi Becton's a very close 1B. Very close. It's almost equal to me, the importance. Because I remember the 2020 offensive line and how there was no depth on that offensive line. And I'm pretty sure Jeff Stoutland was here in 2020, too. All right? Depth on the offensive line is like depth in your starting pitching rotation. You've got to have it because someone's always going to go down. Becton at right guard, who can then slide to right tackle or left tackle when needed, and then you pop Steen in when somebody goes down. Someone always goes down. Mekhi Becton is important. Extremely important. So, yeah. That's just the way I look at it. Again, shout out to Chris Franklin for coming on yesterday. Next week, we only got one show or one guest lined up. I'll say it for Marshawn, the great El Parcero, JP Zapata. Blah, blah, blah. We'll just say Parcero. Joining us next Friday. He's committed to an hour of the 90-minute trend in the AM next Friday. We'll be back live Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday. No show next week. But anyway, there's that. We'll see. We'll do more mock drafts. We'll do more football talk, obviously. I got to do a deep dive in this Eagles quarterback coach hire and really try to figure out who this guy is. I'm sure there'll be more rumors. As we start March on Saturday, so it means we're only 10 days away from free agency starting, tampering-wise. So we'll dive into any of the rumors that pop up this weekend. By the way, rant time. Everybody wants a good rant. Everybody loves a good rant. I did get yelled at by a customer yesterday because she never placed her order, but she remembers doing it. And it was my fault that her order wasn't put in the computer. But anyway, and the Phillies 2020. Will the Phillies be on TV this weekend, Rick? If they will be, I'll try to watch a little Phillies baseball this weekend. Get some thoughts on the Phillies next week. Maybe I'll run a Phillies show next week. There's only 3 shows next week, like I said. So who knows what we're going to cover and when and how and why. But when I know in advance when I always know in advance I'm going to have less shows, I really try to jam a lot into that small window. Dude, customers are always wrong. The whole philosophy, customers are always right. No. Those were called to confirm an order for today. I'm like, I don't have an order for you for today. She's like, no, I called you. And I'm like, no, I got your name on my calendar from the 21st, and it got canceled and moved to the 28th, and you were going to call and confirm and give me the number of pizzas. She's like, no, I did that already. I'm like, no, you did not. She's like, well, I did. I'm like, ma'am, it's not too late to place your order now. She's like, yeah, but I want you to know that you're wrong. I did it already. You messed up. I'm like, no, I didn't mess up. You're not in the system, but I can take your order now. 100% is who I talked to yesterday. 100%. Today on a TV, great pitching matchup. I got a lot, because of this lady and other customers, I got way too many orders this afternoon. Way too many orders this afternoon. There will be no TV on at the pizza shop today. At least not till like 6 or 7 o'clock tonight. But that's it on that. But yeah, guys, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's zoom in on my draft one more time. I think I hit a home run. Bryce Harper, Oppo Boppo on the first mock draft of the year right here. But like, subscribe, share. Let's try to get as close to 500 this weekend as we can. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Hope everybody enjoys themselves. But I think we're going to call it a day today. I think we're going to wrap up a few minutes early. I think that's okay. I think I've earned that. Thank you very much, Rick. Thank you always very much for your time. I greatly appreciate you always. I appreciate everybody always. Ciao, Paisan. Yes, ciao. Ciao. Let's have a great weekend. Let's enjoy ourselves. K1, let's hope not Jake Knapp winning the Cognizant Classic. I'm cognizant of the fact that he is not on my betting card this weekend. Do I need some muscle at the pizza shop? I'm kicking ass and taking names. I don't eat muscle. I got a baseball bat sitting right next to me on the phone. All right, just so you know. That metal baseball bat sits right there. I've been robbed before, mister. And I'm the dumbass that fought the armed robber. So, I don't need no muscle. I am the muscle. I'm the idiot that would fight the armed robber and did and put him in jail for a while. Cannabis and IPAs for the weekend. I was drinking a really good Conshohocken IPA last night. Went to the Stottsville Inn for the wife's birthday. It was on Sunday last week. Didn't get to do much because of work. Took her out to happy hour and the Stottsville Inn in Coatesville. Eric knows the Stottsville. Legendary place in the Coatesville area. It's $4 IPA Friday. Or Thursdays are $4 IPAs on draft. And I had a nice Conchi IPA yesterday. I forget what it was called now. You're the captain now. I'm the captain. I'm the enforcer. I'm the captain. I'm the boss. Glenn Macnow. Yeah, Glenn Macnow's pretty. I forget what it was called. I thought I wrote it down somewhere because it was a really good IPA. It was a little hoppy, which I like. My wife didn't like it. Hold on. Here's the picture that I posted yesterday. Let me see. I know I responded to somebody with what it was called. Let me zoom in on this picture here. It was called Conshohocken Life Coach. Conshohocken Life Coach. It was a lighter IPA. Just under 6%. Conshohocken Life Coach. Excellent beer. If you wore an eye patch, nobody would think I'm messing with you. Do you want me to wear an eye patch? I barely see out of this eye anyway, so might as well wear an eye patch, right? All right, guys. That's it. Like, share, subscribe. Everybody have a fan-frickin-tastic weekend. I will see you all on Monday. Go Birds! Bubbles up.
Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 julep. Pop, 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 julep.